You begin to realize that everything that happened was not a coincidence. You went through that attachment for a reason. You went through that pain for a reason. All of it was necessary for your growth. And as soon as you accept this, a calmness appears inside you. You no longer want to bring the past back, because you understand it was only a stepping stone. You no longer blame yourself for holding on so long, because now you know you simply needed time. You no longer fear that you will never feel that kind of love again, because now you know love is not in another person. Love is within you. And that realization changes everything. You begin to see the world differently. You no longer see loneliness as something terrifying. It no longer feels like emptiness. On the contrary, it becomes a space for growth. You no longer seek validation of your worth from anyone. You no longer depend on someone else's attention, recognition, or love. You no longer fear losing anything because now you know you can only lose what you are holding on to, and you are no longer holding on. You allow people to come and go. You allow yourself to feel, but not become a slave to those feelings. You allow yourself to love, but without fear or dependence. And that is when real life begins, a life with no chains, a life with no fear of the future, a life where you no longer hide behind illusions but see reality as it is. And this reality no longer frightens you, because now you know you are free. You finally understand that freedom is not a state where you feel nothing, but the ability to feel without being a hostage to your emotions. You can love without dissolving in another person. You can remember without getting stuck in the past. You can grieve a loss without letting it define your future. When you realize this, you start to look at your life differently. You see that all the attachments you were desperately holding on to were really reflections of your inner fears. You were afraid of being alone, so you searched for someone to save you from it. You were afraid of being rejected, so you clung to those who didn't value you. You were afraid you wouldn't be loved, so you tried to earn love. But love cannot be earned. Jung said that what we search for in the outer world is always a projection of what we lack inside. You wanted to be loved because you didn't love yourself. You wanted to be valued because you didn't see your own value. You wanted someone to make you happy because you didn't know how to be happy on your own. But real love begins when you stop searching for it outside yourself, when you understand that no one can fill your emptiness except you. You realize that the person you were holding on to so tightly was really just a mirror. They were showing you the parts of yourself you didn't want to see. And now that they are gone, you can finally face yourself. This is the hardest but most important moment. You are left alone with your fears. You see all your weaknesses, all your insecurity, all your pain. You can no longer run away from yourself, and that is frightening. But this is where true healing begins. Because you no longer fill your emptiness with someone else's presence. You no longer distract yourself with new relationships, illusions, hopes. You look inside yourself, and for the first time in a long time, you begin to see who you really are. You realize that you are not your attachments. You are not your fears. You are not your pain. You are so much more. You are a person who has endured loss but has not been broken. You are a person who went through pain but did not lose the ability to love. You are a person who thought they could not live without someone but learned to be happy alone. And that realization changes everything. You stop fearing loneliness, because now it no longer feels like emptiness. You stop fearing that someone will leave your life, because you know that everything that is truly yours will stay with you. You stop fearing love because now you know. Love is independence, not attachment, not fear of losing. Love is freedom, the freedom to be yourself, the freedom to let another be themselves, the freedom to live without fear of loss. When you reach this state, you begin to attract completely different people into your life. People who love not because they are afraid to be alone. People who value you not for something, but simply as you are. People who choose you consciously, not out of fear, because you yourself have become that kind of person. Jung said that our inner world creates our outer world. If there is emptiness inside you, you will look for someone to fill it. If there is fear inside you, you will attract people who amplify it. If there is pain inside you, you will keep facing situations that make you suffer. But if there is love, freedom, and awareness inside you, you will create the same kind of world around you. You will no longer cling, because now you know no one can belong to you. You will no longer fear losing, because now you know you can only lose an illusion, not love. You will no longer depend on someone else's presence, because now you know everything you need is already inside you. You are free. And this freedom is not about closing yourself off from the world, not about letting no one in, not about rejecting feelings. This freedom is about no longer being afraid to love, but loving differently. Not clinging, not waiting for someone to make you happy, not fearing that you won't be chosen, just being. Being yourself, being in the moment, being alive. And when you start living like this, everything around you changes. You no longer see love as a struggle. You no longer suffer when someone leaves. You no longer waste your energy on fear. You simply live. And for the first time in a long time, you feel that this is what real life is. You begin to realize that life was never against you. Everything that happened was not a punishment, not cruelty of fate, not injustice. Every breakup, every loss, every unrequited love, everything was part of your path. You think you lost someone, but in fact, you found yourself. You think you were rejected, but in fact, you were set free. You think your love was wasted, but in fact, it was teaching you what real love is. Jung said, "We do not lose people, we lose illusions." And that is the most valuable thing that can happen to us. Because as long as you live in illusion, you cannot see reality. You cannot see that the person you were holding on to never belonged to you. You cannot see that your pain was really just fear. You cannot see that everything you were searching for in another was already inside you. But now you see it, and that knowledge makes you free. You no longer fear being alone. You no longer fear loving. You no longer fear losing. You understand that everything that comes into your life comes for a reason. You understand that if someone leaves, it means their path with you is complete. You understand that love is not about possession, not about control, not about fear. Love is a gift. It either is or it isn't. And if it is, you don't need to fight for it. If a person loves you, they will be with you. If they choose to leave, it means they were never truly yours, and there is no tragedy in that. You cannot lose the one who is meant for you. You cannot keep the one who is meant to go. You can only accept. Accept that everything that happens, happens for your growth. Accept that life knows where it is leading you. Accept that sometimes you need to let go of what feels important to receive what is truly yours. When you realize this, you stop clinging. You no longer wait for messages, no longer check your phone, no longer live expecting someone to return. You no longer analyze another person's actions, no longer look for hidden meanings, no longer try to figure out what you did wrong. You no longer beg for love, you give it to yourself. You begin to treat yourself the way you always wished others would treat you. You no longer betray yourself for someone else's attention. You no longer sacrifice your boundaries for someone else's comfort. You no longer give your energy to what doesn't bring you joy. You become the person you were searching for in someone else. And that is when the miracle happens. The world around you begins to change. You no longer attract people who don't value you. You no longer find yourself in relationships where you have to fight. You no longer feel empty even when no one is around, because now you are full. Now you know you have nothing to prove. You know you are worthy of love simply because you exist. You know the most valuable thing you have is yourself. And this confidence, this inner wholeness, makes you truly free. Now you are no longer afraid of new feelings. You are no longer afraid to let someone into your life, because you know that even if they leave, you will not lose yourself. You are no longer afraid to trust, because you know your worth does not depend on someone else's choice. You are no longer afraid to love, because you know love is not pain, not dependence, not attachment. Love is simply love without conditions, without fear, without pain. And when you start living with this understanding, you finally feel that you are free. Free from the past. Free from fear. Free from the attachment that once felt like part of you. You are no longer the person who was afraid of being alone. You are no longer the person who searched for salvation in someone else. You are no longer the person who thought they were nothing without love. You have become yourself. And that is the best thing that could have happened to you. You have walked a long road from despair to acceptance, from fear to freedom, from dependence to love. You no longer cling to the past, because you understand this is love that comes not from lack but from fullness. Jung called this a state of wholeness, And this state is the key to true life. When you reach this state of wholeness, there is no more chaos inside you. You stop fighting the past. You stop trying to change what no longer belongs to you. You no longer ask questions that have no answers. What if it had all gone differently? Or why did he do that? These questions lose their power because you realize reality has already happened. You cannot change it, but you can change your relationship to it. And here something amazing happens. When you no longer cling to emotions, they begin to dissolve. It's like sunlight slowly dispersing the fog. You stop being a prisoner of your pain because you stop identifying with it. It no longer defines you. But there is one more subtlety. Many people think emotional detachment means complete indifference. They imagine that one day they will become cold like stone, that they will stop feeling anything at all. But that's not true. True freedom is not the absence of feelings, it is the ability to feel without letting those feelings control you. When you are truly emotionally detached from someone, you do not feel anger, you do not feel resentment, you do not feel disappointment. You can remember this person, you can even meet them again, but nothing stirs inside you. There is no tension, no desire to prove anything, no need for answers. You simply move on. And Jung said that individuation is the process of becoming yourself. It means you no longer live by someone else's projections, someone else's expectations, someone else's shadows. You acknowledge, this was part of my path, but it no longer defines me. And then real transformation happens. You begin to see the world differently. You no longer depend on the past. You no longer let your thoughts return to what is gone. And not because you force yourself to forget, but because you no longer need to remember. You return to yourself. In this state, you no longer search for something outside yourself. You no longer wait for someone to come and fill the emptiness inside you because that emptiness is gone. It has turned into a space for life, for new experiences, for new discoveries. And most importantly, you are no longer afraid to love. You are no longer afraid of being hurt again. You are no longer afraid of being abandoned. You are no longer afraid of loss because now you know everything that comes into your life comes for a reason, and everything that leaves leaves because its time is over. You no longer cling to people. You no longer grasp at the past. You let everything flow as it will. And in this freedom, you find yourself. When you reach this stage, there is no more inner conflict. You are not at war with yourself. You are not trying to erase someone from your memory. You are not convincing yourself that you no longer feel anything. You simply live. For the first time in a long time, you truly live. But to come to this, you must go through a very important process, the process of acceptance. Acceptance of what was. Acceptance of what you felt. Acceptance that this person was part of your life but is no longer. People often confuse acceptance with resignation. They think that if they accept a situation, it means they have given up, that they have surrendered, that they have allowed themselves to be defeated. But that's not true. Acceptance is not defeat. It is seeing reality as it is without trying to change it. And this is where many people get stuck. They keep holding on to the past because they cannot accept its end. They go back to it again and again, replaying the same scenes in their minds, imagining words that were never said, inventing alternative scenarios. But the longer you stay in these thoughts, the further you drift from the present. You lose yourself in the past. You lose your energy. You lose your opportunities. Jung said that a person becomes free when they stop fighting what has already happened. This does not mean you must forget or pretend it never hurt. It means you stop letting that pain run your life. Imagine a river. This water always flows forward. It never flows back. You can try to hold the water, build dams, even try to turn the current backward. But sooner or later you will grow tired, because the river will keep flowing forward anyway. Life works the same way. When you realize this, you stop fighting. You let the river flow. You stop holding on to people, to emotions, to the past, because you understand everything in life comes and goes. And that is when real freedom comes. But freedom is not just the absence of attachment, it is also responsibility. Responsibility for how you use your new life. You can no longer hide behind your feelings. You can no longer justify your pain. You can no longer blame others for what is happening inside you. You are fully responsible for yourself. And that is scary because now you must look within. Now you must admit that this person you were clinging to was really just a reflection of your inner fears and desires. Now you must understand why you chose them, why you let them so deeply into your life, why you gave them so much power over your emotions. This is a painful realization, but it is necessary. Jung said that everything that attracts us in others is a reflection of ourselves. We do not fall in love with the person, we fall in love with what they awaken in us. We do not cling to them, we cling to the feelings they made us feel. And when you understand this, you start asking the right questions, not why did they do this to me, but why did I allow this to happen? Not why don't they love me, but why can't I let go? Not why did they leave, but what does this teach me about myself? This is the moment you start facing your deepest fears. You start to see that your attachment was not about love, but about fear of being alone. You start to understand that you did not lose love, you lost an illusion. You start to realize that this person was not meant to fill your life, but to show you where you were empty inside. And that is when the real transformation comes. You stop searching for love outside yourself, because you start to find it within. You stop depending on approval because you recognize your own worth. You stop fearing loneliness because it no longer feels like emptiness. Loneliness becomes space for growth. You begin to taste life. You begin to take interest in new things. You stop waiting for someone to make you happy and start doing it yourself. You learn to be free. But this freedom does not mean you will never again become attached to someone. It does not mean you will become indifferent, cold, detached. On the contrary, it means that now you will love consciously. You will not hold on to people out of fear. You will not try to keep someone who wants to go. You will not let your emotions control you. The most important thing is the relationship you have with yourself. Jung said that until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. You have made your unconscious conscious. You no longer live by old patterns. You no longer repeat the same mistakes. You no longer seek in another what has always been in you. You have learned to let go, not out of pride, not out of resentment, not out of a desire to prove your strength, but because you understand it is pointless to hold on to what is not yours. You no longer fear loneliness, because now loneliness is not emptiness but the chance to be yourself. You no longer fear not being chosen, because now you choose yourself. You no longer fear love, because now you know love is not dependence but freedom. You have changed, and now the world around you will begin to change too. You will begin to meet people with whom you don't need to play games. You will begin to build relationships where you don't need to be afraid. You will begin to attract into your life what truly resonates with you, because you have become a different person. And now you know nothing was in vain. Every pain, every loss, every disappointment, all of it did not break you. It made you who you are today. You have become a person who knows their worth, a person who no longer compromises with themselves, a person who chooses not fear but love. And that choice changes everything, because now you are no longer a victim. Now you are the creator of your life. You know you cannot control other people's actions, but you can choose your reaction to them. You know you cannot make someone love you, but you can love yourself. You know you cannot hold on to someone who wants to leave, but you can learn to let go with peace. You are free, and now this freedom no longer frightens you. Now you see in it not loneliness but strength, not emptiness but space for growth, not pain but the opportunity to begin again. You are not afraid. You simply live. You choose yourself. You choose your life. And that is the single most important choice you will ever make.